Good afternoon and welcome to the September meeting of the Martinsburg City Club. It's our first meeting of the season and I'm glad to see the folks got here. Our next couple of meetings are October 19th. Steve Christian from Berkeley County Development Authority will be speaking. November 16th, speaker's not nailed down yet, but we're working on it. We will not meet in December, and then we'll meet back on January 18th. Looking forward to it and looking forward to seeing as many folks as we can get here. Is Randy still here? Hey Randy, can you tell us, you guys have a meeting on downtown concerns through Main Street, Martinsburg, yes, on Monday the 26th?
Monday 26th is City Hall at 6. It's downtown dialogue. And
okay.
Residents and members and businesses are more than welcome to come. It's a panel discussion.
Okay.
Participating with the mayor and the city manager and the city police.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you very much. And check his emails that go out on Monday. It has all the details on that. Our speaker today is Don Smith, who's the editor of the Martinsburg Journal News. Moved over here about a year ago from Elkins. Brought his family once he scoped it out and decided it was all right. And we asked Don to come and talk to us because he's run a number of editorials supporting downtown Martinsburg. And also, I think, and maybe he'll tell us a little bit about it, dangers for Martinsburg with the way development is going right now. I appreciate the editorial stance. We've asked him to talk about the role of the media in downtown development. So, Don?
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation. And before I start, I'd like to introduce my wife, Samantha. She's here with me today. And if you get a chance to talk to her, you'll realize that she's the brains and the looks of the family, but I am good with the kids, so that helps out.
Is that making them or?
Well, well, I don't know. We'll have to ask her about that too. When Jeff invited me to speak, actually, when I was in town, not much more than a month, he met with me for lunch and some of the City Club members, and we talked. And I'm surprised that this is the first time I've been to a meeting. My schedule, this is 1 year of being in Martinsburg, and my schedule filled up. I thought I would be to some of your meetings before this, just as a guest, not to speak, but it was great to get an invitation to come down and get to meet some more people. We talked about the role of newspaper and economic development, and he pointed out that the City Club focuses primarily on downtown. And I have a real interest in the downtowns of the communities. I've been fortunate enough to be in several communities around West Virginia, and I've seen a lot of the development and some of the things, and I take a great interest, and I think they're the heart and soul of a community. And I think that has to be something that we remember. And I also like the suggestion because I think newspapers and downtowns have a lot in common. We both shared decades of dominance and have been facing economic challenges since about the 1970s. And some would say that the better days are behind both of us. I tend to disagree in both cases. But I do agree they'll never be the same. That's newspapers or downtowns. I don't think things will ever be what they were in the 60s and the 50s and the 40s. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a future. I want to allow time for questions and back and forth, but I do want to talk a little bit about our thoughts on what we do to help economic development, what the Journal can do. And I think the first thing a newspaper has to be is a champion for the community. That's not just the downtown or just the business community, but a newspaper has to feel a sense of pride about where it's located. It has to be a champion. It has to point out the good. Lord knows there's bad, and we have it in our paper, but we are really trying to provide more of the positive coverage of the good things that are going on. At the Journal, we're working to look at our resources and our staffing to see how we can get more positive coverage out there. And by positive coverage, that's really not things that we have to create, but the good things that are going on. Business features, I'm very big on business features, more than you'll know from what you've seen in our paper so far, because we just really haven't been able to get all the things done we want to get done with our staffing levels. I think that those type of features, the people who are working to make the community better, are important. I think we can do that. I think we can talk about things that are happening. I talked to Randy prior to this, and I think the Main Street program does a great job of getting news out. The Chamber does a great job of getting news out of what's going on. And I think we're pretty active. So I think that's a real positive. I think we can do a better job of helping promote that, tying things in. So I think that's something that's very important for us to do. We also have to be a champion for the hospital, for the mall, for everything in the community, for the development. We have to talk about all the positive. And I think it's a paper's job to sell this community as a great place to work, live, and invest. And we also have to help make sure that it is. We have to be honest. If there are problems, we have to talk about problems. If there are things that are wrong, we have to point out the things that are wrong. Credibility with a newspaper and with a community are key issues. You only get one first impression with people. And if you lose your credibility as a newspaper, you can get it back, but it's a lot more work than being honest with them all the time and doing your best work. And the same is true of a community. If you invite people into your community, into your downtown, and it's not what it should be, that's an impression that doesn't go away. They don't come back, and worse yet, unfortunately, bad news spreads faster than good. If someone has a bad experience, they'll tell 10 people, and if they have a great experience, they'll tell 2. I don't know what that is about human nature, but it seems to happen that way. So like I said, we have to be honest. We can't lie to our readers. We can't lie to the visitors. We have to, as a newspaper, we have to publicize and work hard, as I said, to promote all the programs. But we can't fall in love with any of them. We have to keep our distance. We can't lose our ability to honestly comment on an effort. We're always in the role of devil's advocate. Somebody needs to ask the questions. Too many groups, too many people develop a dream or a vision or a plan, then they lose all objectivity with that plan. When the project's complete, they have a project, but did they achieve the goal they wanted to really achieve? And again, I want to state that we think anything that happens in the downtown has to be about making it more successful. It has to be about activity. I am a firm believer that a downtown has to be active, socially, in terms of business, in terms of traffic. I know we talk about the traffic here, and one of the editorials I did was on the Raleigh Street extension. And I can understand the need for that. But too much traffic is never a problem. It's just an underused resource. And I think that's something we all have to think about. Anything that diverts traffic away from your downtown is a very scary idea. There are downtowns all over this state that have been bypassed, that have diverted traffic for certain reasons, and they don't come back. Getting people back into that downtown is a very scary issue. We'll always point out that to be successful, it must be busy, and any plan that we endorse has to be about increasing the usage of the downtown. One of the things that scares me about West Virginia, and we have an older population, and that's not to say that's a negative, but we do. And I wonder at times if we have a dream for our downtown or we have memories of our downtown. And it should never, and that's what happens. People want to make it what it was. That will never come back. We have to look to what it can be. And a lot of times, and I'll share John McVeigh's here, and I've shared this story with John before. I was in one downtown, and the mayor and the economic development director went to the state to see about getting a bypass for the downtown. They went privately, didn't talk about it, and when we asked them about it in the paper, they said, well, we were doing it as individual citizens. Well, your mayor and your director of the economic development are never individual citizens in that situation. But when I asked the mayor about why, he said, it's just too busy down here. People, he said, people can't enjoy strolling along the streets. And he was honest in his thoughts. That's what he wanted. But if you're a business owner downtown, you can't exist in that situation. And we all know that downtown struggle right now with small businesses trying to maintain hours, trying to be open at the right time. There's that growing difference between what the public wants and what we typically provide. That 9 to 5 business format. There's a reason that Walmart's busy from 7 till midnight. There's a reason that the big box stores are open those times, because that's when people today have time to shop. But so many of our plans and so many activities are about going back to that 1960s business model that we're open, it's wonderful when we're open from 9 to 5 and Saturday till noon. And it's very difficult to succeed, I think, in today's market like that. So when we look at things that are happening and we comment on things that are happening, it's with that mindset. Is this going to be successful? It should never be downtown plans, and as this newspaper, in my opinion, should never be about what we want. It has to be about what the public wants. And if it's not going to succeed. But there are people with dreams and plans, and they want to make something happen. And they'll work hard to make that happen. And they'll get funding to make that happen. And that's all outstanding. The problem is it utilized when it's done? And I think you have to look at what's going on in every activity and measure it in that light. And if you don't, it's a failure. And I think, long term, I don't think there's a problem with different groups working different directions. One of the scariest things is all of us agreeing on one plan and working on in one direction, and it fails. If we miss something, we'd all agree to do the same thing, and that's all we're doing, and it doesn't work, where are we at that point? So, again, a lot of the way I view things, what we write about is based on that. There is some experience there. I was on one of the original Main Street committees when they came out with a program in the late 80s, early 90s in New Martinsville, West Virginia, which we had a wonderful director, Mary Warner. But if you've been to New Martinsville, West Virginia in the last 10 years, there are tumbleweeds in the downtown. It's a shame. It didn't work. I think Main Street's a great program, but it doesn't always succeed. There are other things that happen. Traffic change was a major factor there. The way the highway went through. There are just other problems. In Elkins, I've been very involved with the Downtown Merchants Association. Even the program that's over here now, I don't know if you're probably familiar with it, the iShop Local program. We developed that in Elkins. That was an idea that we came up with, that Samantha, who was the advertising director at the time, we worked together and put it out. The iShop Local, certainly there have been similar programs, but that program with that logo and the way it's structured, we developed that in-house, and it went not only through our chain, but it went nationally. There was a big shopping local movement at the time, and that was picked up all over the country. So we had some real success there. We worked with the chamber, I say Businessman of the Year of the Chamber different times. So when I speak about business, it's not always from afar. I've been an editor, I've been an ad director for a period, I was general manager. So I know about you having to succeed, having to make money. I understand that it doesn't apply to the public and the customer, it's not going to work. So there are times, I'll be the first to admit, that we may question or be critical of an idea. It's not that we don't support change and progress, but we ask that same question: will it make our downtown more successful and busier? Let Let's see if there's anything else I want to talk before I open up for questions. No, I think let's try to do that now and see if you have any questions or thoughts you want to talk about. The way we do things, what can we do to be better? I would love suggestions in that sense, and other comments about the editorials and things we've written about. Anybody? Please.
I've been in Martinsburg for 12 years. In the last couple of years, mostly this past year, I read the paper more than I ever did. And I read almost all of the editorials. So whatever you're doing is getting to the average person, which I think is a good thing, very good thing. Sometimes maybe I would pick up an editorial and start reading it, and I'd get bored and that'd be the end of it. I wouldn't even continue reading it. So I think whatever you're doing is really adding money for getting people to read the editorials.
Oh, I appreciate it. We have good people. It's the direction.
How's your customer base doing? Are you growing?
Well, our customer, it's funny the way you put it. We're somewhat, the similarities with downtown are tremendous. There's so much traffic through the downtown, but the businesses are saying, well, we're struggling at times. We have never had as much readership as we have right now. We have 17,000, roughly 17,000 in print, and 11,000 a day online. Now there's some, I'm sure there's some duplication, but that's 28,000. That's as big as that's bigger than the journal's ever been, as far as I'm aware, in terms of circulation. Sunday we had, John McVeigh did a great job. We had some photos of the tragedy at the air show. You couldn't, several people told me you couldn't find a newspaper in the community, and we had over 50,000 people online. So, as I say, like the downtown, we can succeed. There are people out there who want our product if they think it's valuable, and if we can get it to them. In our case, the thing we have to look at is how do we get the paper to them? Is it online or is it print? So the circulation mechanism is different, but the market's still there. So that's good.
Yeah, I'm Rick from Berkeley Arts Council, and I want to echo what she said. Recently, I'm basically an online reader, and my routine when I get up and I have my first cup of coffee is I kind of click through a number of bookmarks at different news sites. And you've gotten to the point now where you're right below the Washington Post, New York Times, and then there's a journal, and I do look at it just about every day because I do find stuff on there that I find interesting in terms of what's going on in the community that I don't believe was there a couple of years ago. So I appreciate the direction you're taking it and the involvement in the local community, and also your advocacy for the community, because I think you are maybe one of the few things that can reach out beyond small parochial interests and pull the whole community together. So thank you for your efforts, and we hope you'll continue to grow in that direction.
Well, we hope to. We're again, I can't stress enough how important we think the downtown is. And I think you have a healthy, very healthy Main Street program. There are some real anchor businesses. There are still things downtown that exist. It's not like some of the communities where the banks have all moved out of the downtown and there's no restaurants or anything left. So, and the train station, there's still a lot of traffic. So I think there's incredible potential. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wondered, you mentioned the Raleigh Street extension. Do you have any thoughts on what should be happening downtown to counteract the fact that the traffic will go around?
Well, I think we have Randy, we have Tracy's here. There's a lot of people who are looking. I mean, I'm sure the meeting Monday, I think, will be interesting to see what goes on. My belief there is, if you divert, anytime traffic changes, and I'm sure there's problems with the traffic. Anytime traffic flow changes, you have problems. So I think, yeah, you have to really work, have a plan how to handle that. I think one of the keys for downtown, and I think certainly government has a role, and they know that, and they do their job much better than I can ever attempt to. It's just that it has to be inviting. It can't look like we turned our back and went away. It amazes me, and we talk about this at the office too, and the Raleigh Street extension will move traffic off of that. It's only 2 blocks, but 2 blocks can be an incredible distance in terms, if you think about neighborhoods you're in now, where the houses, what they're like at this neighborhood, and then 2 blocks away, the condition of that neighborhood. So 2 blocks is a lot. So I do think we have to look at that. For some reason, in our society right now, we're so, my wife brought it up, we're disposable. That's her term. We see no problem putting millions of dollars, investing millions of dollars in new areas for new development and tax breaks and things like that. But it's much more difficult to get that same type of investment for the small businesses downtown. The state, the federal government, it's very difficult. If we would put the amount of money that, and I'm very thrilled that Macy's is coming, and I'm thrilled that the other new development they're talking about is coming. But if that amount of money was invested in the downtown, in terms of infrastructure, fixing things up, providing assistance for businesses to renovate their fronts. The article I had Sunday about getting the, some of that stimulus money and removing some of the asbestos, remodeling upstairs of some of these downtown businesses that sit empty right now. Small business people want to do things, but the price tag is, it's not a wise investment. There's I talked to Jeff at the mall. We were talking about how the mall's doing, and I have a saying that if you invest in your property and your neighbors don't, you don't have the nicest property, you're the biggest loser, because you've invested money that you can't recoup. If the people next to you don't do anything, you've just lost your investment. And that's, at some point you say, that's not a good plan. I want to fix my property up, but if there is no incentive, and I'm aware that these people aren't going to fix this building next to me, I've just lost my money. And that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I think there has to be an orchestrated plan, and I'm sure there is some things going on, but I think we need to pay a lot of attention to it.
I just want to make a comment, Don, that I commend you and your reporters for promoting Main Street and the downtown through all your efforts. It's been wonderful to see that community-oriented paper back again. I've been a native here all my life, and I think the readership, I know I'm reading the paper more, I see more things happen in the community, so I appreciate your efforts in that area. Well, on other thing with the Raleigh Extension, personally, I feel it is going to impact downtown, but as an organization and a city, we have to be creative and bring in more and lure those people back into downtown.
Right.
I know the city's working with the wayfinding signage. Hopefully we can talk to them about putting new signs up there on Raleigh Street, pointing traffic into downtown more.
It just needs to say detour, Randy.
Unless you're a truck.
Yeah.
But I think, most of the businesses downtown are those type of specialty shops that people do come downtown for that particular item and destination shopping. But hopefully, we just got to be creative.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm impressed with, again, and Randy, I think and Jeff's taught me whatever. Okay, the amount of activity. I've been all over the state, other than the Southern Coalfields. Been involved with the Press Association in Charleston, and the amount of activity that downtown that your group puts on, and the activities we have, is excellent. It's up there with everybody. There are some areas where I don't think that there's as much going on to whether the business can help themselves, whether the city needs to get more involved. I don't know the answer to that, but I think if we're putting all the dollars into the Raleigh Street extension in those areas there, and we're not putting in at least an amount into keeping the downtown, like you say, a vital part of that, we can have a problem. That extension, there'll be a lot of development along that. And people, question is, the disposable question, is that where we're going to be, or we're going to have both? And, are we going to have the Raleigh Street extension and the growth along there, but at the cost of this dying? Or can we have both? And I have no problem with the development over there. And the traffic, I come from Hammond's Mill, so I know about the traffic on Queen Street. You know, I deal with it every day, but is it going to be, are there businesses over there going to be there? Can they take a 10% loss and still exist? That worries me. Other questions or thoughts? Well, I want to thank you for having me and your time, and for reading the paper. If there's anything you want to talk about or anything that we can do, let me know. We want to promote. We want to help all we can. We'll continue to comment as we see the need. But thank you.
Don't run off yet. As a gift for our speaker, we've got a book called A City Within a Park. It's about Kansas City, Missouri, and one of the major themes in there is the role of the Kansas City newspapers in bringing development into Kansas City. So we thought that was an appropriate gift to you, and maybe you'll continue to do that. We would hope so.
If there's a moment, I'll share one more story with you. When I started, Harry Ham was the editor in Wheeling. I was a reporter in Wheeling. And Harry came up with the Wheeling 2000 plan. This was in the 70s. And the city, the paper spent money and he adopted it. And Harry was a well-educated, very intelligent man, had some background in engineering and design. And they followed that plan, and to a certain point. And Wheeling did well for a while, and then it fell off. But to honor Wheeling, to honor Harry for his efforts, they were dedicated a bridge, and his health had failed. And before they decided to dedicate the bridge, and they want to do it right away, so they dedicated the bridge, and they were going to have the ribbon cutting it was in the fall, and the weather was inclement, and they were going to do it the next spring. And in the meantime, the state
Highway Department
closed the bridge.
Oh, no.
So that was the end of the bridge, and things didn't go on, but I do appreciate this. Newspapers do try. I'm saying my point is newspapers do try. Sometimes the honor didn't come back, but thank you.
There you go.
Condemn the bridge. That's the term I was thinking.